Good morning, everyone, and welcome to ITIL 4 plus Atlassian equals high velocity, a webinar information session by Avant Systems Group. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of ITIL 4 for IT service teams and how Atlassian products are built to help them achieve high velocity. Let's get started. First off, a quick agenda. We'll introduce ourselves at Avant and what we do. Then we'll look at the latest iteration of ITIL, which is ITIL 4, and see what the latest is there before jumping into some of the top practices that IT teams are using today to achieve high velocity. And to close things off, we'll offer some tips and resources to bring agility and collaboration into your ITSM practice. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A, and we'll address them at the end of today's session. And a video of today's session will be available to everyone on our website at www.avant.ca. First, we'll do a few introductions. My name is Ryan Hanna. I'm the president and CEO of Avant Systems Group. I founded Avant's Atlassian practice back in 2013 and still work very closely with our customers today. I've got several Atlassian certifications in both Jira Service Management and Jira Project Administration, as well as my ITIL 4 Foundation and Specialist certifications. On a personal level, I enjoy time at my cabin, with my family, and playing guitar. Avant Systems Group is an innovative IT consulting company specializing in Atlassian products. Our team spans coast to coast here in Canada with employees in 6 different provinces. Our expertise comes from nearly 30 years of software development and consulting, the last 10 of which have been nearly exclusively in the Atlassian space. We're passionate about software development tools, processes, and sharing that expertise with our clients to drive their success. As an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, our people have extensive experience working with, implementing, and supporting Atlassian products for a broad range of customers across a wide range of industries by way of the services you can see here. We work to distinguish ourselves by providing exceptional service and expertise in licensing, setup and configuration of Atlassian products, product migrations, post-purchase support, and custom configurations for products in the Atlassian ecosystem. If you're working with or interested in working with Atlassian tools in your organization, I would encourage you to reach out to us for partner purchasing advantages and a single point of contact for Atlassian product support. Products we promote, of course, come from Atlassian. We deploy Atlassian products like Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket for organizations to provide solutions in several different areas like those you see here. And finally, a quick note about the Solution Partner Program itself. Atlassian doesn't employ a dedicated support branch of its own, instead training and relying on solution partner organizations like Avant to provide expertise and hands-on keyboard assistance with everything in the Atlassian product ecosystem. There are a number of advantages you can gain from engaging with Avant for product procurement and configurations, including licensing discounts, a single point of contact, and post-purchase support for all your Atlassian products. So if you're using Jira, Confluence, or Bitbucket now, or you'd like to deploy these in the future, reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. On to our subject matter for today. I'd like to start by covering off what ITIL is for those of you who might be new to this concept, and just to make sure everyone gets the same foundation for today's discussion. ITIL is the world's most adopted guidelines for ITSM. It focuses on the management of information technology services, but not so much the systems and technologies that facilitate them. ITIL is meant to be technology agnostic and also sector agnostic. So the guidelines are applicable to information technology service management, regardless of the kinds of tools you're using. And they're also applicable to whatever kind of industry you're practicing ITSM in. And ITIL aims to be scalable, to be used to guide IT service operations for startups, big corporations, and everywhere in between. The first version of ITIL was created in 1989, and the 4th version of ITIL, known as ITIL 4, was published by Axelos in 2019. So what kinds of challenges does ITIL look to solve? There are a few anti-patterns or bad behaviors that we can look at regarding IT service management that ITIL seeks to remedy. Watermelon SLAs, green on the outside and red otherwise. So here, service teams think they're doing a good job, closing tickets at a fast rate, but the customers they're serving aren't actually happy with the results. Another problem service teams might face is the connect the dots implementation model, where to implement an ITIL-based practice, organizations seem to think they need to start at point A, then move to the next point, B, C, and so on until their implementation is quote unquote complete, instead of creating a more adaptive model, allowing ITIL guidelines to both shape and be shaped by an organization to find the best path for them. We also often see a single silver bullet mindset that suggests there's only one singular approach to service improvement and maturity, where ITIL's guidelines aim to help teams solve problems within the specific context of their organization. And finally, when IT service teams are looking at ways of maturing their IT service offerings, those efforts tend to become more of a vanity project that looks to push services higher on an arbitrary scoreboard than to actually improve services and velocity. The ITIL 4 guidelines were designed by Axelos. When they were designing it, they did so with 6 principles in mind that were meant to help solve ITSM difficulties. It needed to be modular, which would allow for more defined updates to the ITIL guidelines in the future. It needed to be lean, providing only what's absolutely vital in terms of core guidance. It needed to be practical, allowing it to be easily understood and adopted. It needed to be evolutionary, such that service teams could adopt without incurring significant change management sticker shock. It needed to be collaborative in its design. So Axelos has a public-facing R&D forum dedicated to the development of the ITIL guidelines, where more than 3,000 people are contributing, providing feedback, and reviewing published materials. And finally, it needed to be flexible, such that it could adapt and support other frameworks that service teams may be implementing, like Agile and DevOps. So this is the framework that was used to create ITIL 4 guidelines. And there are a few important concepts within ITIL 4 that are important to highlight. One of these concepts is that ITIL 4 aims to have its guidance adapted as well as adopted so that the guidelines can assist with solving problems in service delivery within the specific context of your organization. At the same time, ITIL 4's guidance includes a number of case studies and guidance for specific scenarios to help service teams navigate them more effectively. Another concept that's integral to ITIL 4 is that a service-oriented culture is crucial to business success from an ITSM standpoint. We'll elaborate on this throughout this presentation. ITIL 4's guiding principles are their approach to decision-making and fostering service-oriented cultures. They can be taken to heart by just about anyone in the organization, from the CEO down to a junior service desk agent, in the interest of ITIL adoption. They might mean slightly different things to different roles, but these philosophies can be applied to decision-making in an organization to help foster the service-oriented culture they represent. They're also a great starting point to figure out how service management can work well in conjunction with Agile and DevOps teams. For example, from the collaborate and promote visibility example, you might ask, are incidents and changes visible? And have changes been assessed from a technical and service standpoint? From the start where you are principle, you might ask, what currently works in terms of tools and processes, and so on. What's most important to note about these guiding principles is that they don't work in isolation. They all work together. So we need to consider the effect of these principles when we apply them to our operations. This is how we can bring together the seemingly disparate worlds of Agile, DevOps, and IT service management. Let's take a closer look at exactly how we can put ITIL 4 guidelines to use in an organization by leveraging Atlassian's approach to them. Jira Service Management focuses on 3 areas where we can bring greater agility to IT service management practices and improve customer satisfaction. First of all, it's designed to focus on the customer and understand their needs and how we need to establish the right channel for support, and then also carrying forward to learning continually and adapting. The other part of this is knowledge-centric. As we talked about the importance of shift left, it's understanding and learning from the knowledge that's going to deliver the great value for a customer, building upon that. And then finally, streamlining using automation. It plays a very important role But the other part of that is shrinking the box. Are we getting the right requests to the right teams? Are we working on the right items? So there are a lot of questions and learning that go into this approach. Let's take a quick look at quick demo of Jira Service Management and see what's possible. Let's start with the Help Center. This is where the web portal that sits over top of all of our service projects in Jira Service Management. The look and feel of this can be tailored according to your brand or preferences otherwise. You can choose to navigate through the different support projects that exist here, but most people will simply type to find the kind of information they're looking for. So if I had a question about setting up my email on my MacBook, for example, I can simply type email, and the first things that are going to come up are some knowledge articles that get suggested to maybe help me solve my problem myself without filing a support ticket. For requests that can't be solved with a knowledge article, we can file a support request, but we can set up forms and collect needed data and route that request to the appropriate support teams. We can also make use of JSM's asset management system to provide the user making the request with intelligent options. So in this case, we're requesting a new laptop, which we can do for myself or on behalf of someone else. We can pick a supported model from our inventory, the accessories we'd like, and any apps we'd like on board. When we're done, we can see the request that has been filed, who for, the details that have been included, and its current status of waiting for approval. If we go from the portal view over to the agent view in Jira Service Management, the agent can see all the details of the requests that Cassie needs: a 13-inch space gray MacBook, a Magic Keyboard, and Adobe CC installed. Because I'm also set as the approver for this request, I get a notification that I need to either approve or deny it. So we'll go ahead and approve it. As we've done that, we can now see that the status has changed from waiting for approval to waiting for support. Because we've requested this on behalf of Cassie, an automation rule has run to let her know via email that we've received the request, and another one to let her know that it's been approved. Now that that's done, it's up to the procurement team to fulfill the request. And thanks to the information we filled out, the procurement agents have all the information they need to do that. Because Cassie needs Adobe Creative Cloud, a subtask has been created thanks to automation to let the agent know there's an extra step involved in completing this request. So between a well-configured portal and the powerful automations that exist with Jira Service Management, we can start to see how managing service requests become much more simplified for the agents and also for the customers who are looking to have their needs fully met. Because we're now in a world where organizations rely on always-on services and infrastructure that's increasingly complex, along with response windows that seem to be shrinking over time, traditional IT teams are now between something of a rock and a hard place. So there needs to be a shift to new ways of dealing with unplanned interruptions. ITIL 4 identifies the idea of swarming, putting teams with the best expertise to task in a collaborative way that offers a quicker time to resolution for incidents. These incident teams also carry a broader responsibility toward problem management, fixing the underlying cause of an incident. When you separate these two incident ideas, incident teams might be able to put out a fire, but there's no improvement in either the infrastructure or the knowledge that's required to keep it from happening again, or to address it more effectively if prevention of an incident isn't immediately possible. The number one goal of an IT operations team responding to an incident is fast recovery. In order to do that effectively, they need to work adaptively, and in a culture of learning is foundational to the way that they work. To ensure success here, they need a playbook. At Atlassian, their incident teams run what they call blameless post-incident reviews for major outages, which help to build and improve their internal incident playbook for resolving incidents and outages much quicker. Atlassian has defined a few playbooks internally that they've shared with solution partners and customers to help better provide incident management approaches that are in line with ITIL 4. This is where you can clearly define many different things about how you manage incidents as a team, like the definition of a major incident, practices, communication plans, and more. This is also where you can establish your post-incident review practices to help make sure you're maintaining that culture of learning from major incidents and recording those learnings in a place where they'll have visibility. Let's have a look at where Atlassian products can work for IT operations teams when a major incident occurs. Let's consider an IT ops team that's on call at 3 a.m. and a major service goes down. This is where Opsgenie from Atlassian comes in to provide a unified vision for incident management for always-on services. Jira Service Management has the ability to handle incidents, but it can get a bit noisy. So many teams prefer to manage alerts using Opsgenie. Opsgenie might get a lot of alerts about various things, but if I see something going on as a team member, I can escalate that from my team according to an escalation policy for how we'll work on an incident based on its priority. We also have an on-call schedule that will help the entire team know who's on call and who's available, as well as how we can contact those members. All of this is managed within Opsgenie for the entire team. Beyond having access to the alerts, the incident information that comes from JSM, teams can use Opsgenie to collaborate and swarm in issues using its Incident Command Center, which is a central collaboration hub that has everything a team needs to collaborate out of the box, including video conferencing, live chat, and more. As a team, we can easily come in here and understand what different members are working on and pull in others from dev teams and so on without fumbling around for call-in numbers or communication tools. It's dedicated to the incident we're working on. And the incident is tracked using a timeline as we work, documenting all the effort and the steps taken that help us understand the incident and how we ultimately get it resolved. This is one of the resources for learning that we mentioned before that's getting built out simultaneously as the incident is being resolved. So it's an extremely valuable tool to promote the culture of learning that is so important to well-performing teams. And speaking of that kind of knowledge, a study that Atlassian conducted suggests that as many as 70% of post-incident reviews, when they're completed, are ultimately never looked at again, meaning that information wasn't findable in a place where it's later relevant and becomes lost in the winds of time. This means that the tasks that were found to be helpful in resolving an incident are ultimately going to take twice the effort to resolve it the next time. And that's why we're big advocates of ITIL 4 and its guidelines for continual improvement and learning. Atlassian suggests that teams should use Confluence to standardize their post-incident review process in a more collaborative manner. It allows them to take and standardize the template they'll use to maximize learning opportunities from major outages, so they can improve the service, publish and share documentation on known errors, and improve their runbook. And these learnings can actually be shared beyond the engineering teams. Leadership teams can also use these to take a look and understand what's being worked on. So there's greater visibility for all concerned and a better understanding of incidents and their causes at all levels. Let's take a look at an example of a PIR template in Confluence. This is a post-incident template in Confluence Cloud. This is just one of the hundreds of stock templates that come built in with Confluence that anyone can use. And here you can bring all the relevant information between Jira Service Management, Opsgenie, and other resolution tools you might be using to document them. Like the incident was, proving an executive summary. You can write up a post-mortem report with all the steps and corrective actions taken to recover. And you can even link in the documented incident timeline in here from Opsgenie that we showed earlier. This PIR page in Confluence lives in the knowledge base for your IT operations project in Jira Service Management. So if there is a similar incident comes up again, we can take a look through suggested knowledge base articles the next time around and find relevant information to help the team resolve the incident more quickly. The last concept I'd like to discuss today is that of change control. The ITIL 4 definition of change practice has evolved to be a more balanced approach to delivering value to customers faster while protecting a business from the adverse effects of change failure. High-performing teams focus on breaking down normal changes into smaller units of work and move away from traditional change approval boards towards more collaborative peer reviews and decentralizing those approvals towards business units that can get to approvals that concern them more quickly. When we look at the flow of work through a change control practice, it's important to identify where the bottlenecks are in that process. How can we partner with the other groups and individuals to streamline this? And how can we break down larger changes into more manageable components to improve the flow? So if you're looking to keep the idea of continual improvement from ITIL 4, Let's say you had a goal of improving your change work throughput by 50%. How would you approach that? You might look at the intake process. Is it easy for IT specialists to raise a change? Is there any way we can speed up the process of taking that work in? Do you have cross-functional teams planning to help the changes that are more complex, will take a little bit more time to understand and plan out? Or is it just a back and forth between people in silos that's not documented anywhere? At the same time, are your change approval boards overbearing? Or can you decentralize these decisions to be more collaborative? Can you implement automations to help certain kinds of changes along the pre-approvals and routing to the right teams and people? Jira Service Management has excellent automation capabilities for taking in and administering different kinds of change requests. And finally, are you doing post-implementation reviews for changes that have been committed? These are just a few ideas that a lot of agile teams are using to get away from the traditional heavy change control measures that many organizations get stopped up by. Just like the post-incident reviews we demonstrated earlier, Confluence has excellent change control templates that can help teams collaborate and document change control processes, which helps to identify where bottlenecks in an approach to change management might reside in an organization. The topics we've covered today are really only scratching the surface of what Atlassian tools are capable of when you're looking at improving the velocity of your IT service management practices and following ITIL 4 guidelines. Avant Systems Group has implemented and configured the products and services that you've seen today to this effect for a constantly growing number of organizations, not just for ITSM, but for the entire software development lifecycle and a host of other enterprise service management applications. We would love to help your organization achieve high velocity in these areas as well. And we've got a number of great assets that you can check out on our website for assessing your organization's ITM maturity. Visit www.avant.ca/ITSM. And with that, I'd like to open up the floor to see if there are any questions around ITIL 4 guidelines, ITSM best practices, and anything in the Atlassian product ecosystem that we can help. Thank you, everyone. Looks like we've got one question here. Will we be sending out the slides for reference? We'll actually be sending out a link to the video at the end of it. Thank you for that question. Next question is, how does Atlassian's ITSM solution differ from their competitors? That's a great question. I think one of the main areas that Atlassian has tried to differ their product is really the integration with other teams. So the Atlassian products have always focused on trying to break down silos in order to improve the collaboration across the different teams that are involved in various value streams. I think what we've noticed is a lot of the more traditional ITSM tools are very well designed and suited purely for IT teams, but where they don't succeed as well as what the Atlassian tools have done is providing that integrated platform, that single solution for all teams in an enterprise, whether it's software development teams, DevOps teams, change teams, or non-technical business teams that are just looking to manage projects. The Atlassian platform can provide that single unified solution, and in doing so, breaking down those silos and enabling those teams to collaborate a lot better. Got one more question here. What's the difference between incidents and Opsgenie and incidents in service management? So this again is a really, really good question. Maybe to start, maybe I'll highlight. So Opsgenie is a product that Atlassian acquired a number of years back. Main capabilities focused on major incident management, but has some capabilities beyond that. As you saw in the presentation, it has on-call management and escalation management, in addition to alert management. None of those capabilities exist within Jira Service Management. What we are seeing, though, is some of the more common, I guess, incident management processes are making their way into Jira Service Management as the products become more integrated. So I think that is how we're going to see the product evolve, is that functions that were once a part of the Opsgenie product natively and that you would need to navigate outside of Jira Service Management for are starting to be better integrated within Jira Service Management. I things like the command center was once launched directly within Opsgenie, and now you can launch that directly within an incident within Jira Service Management. Okay, hope that answered the questions. I think that's the last of the questions. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help with any of your Atlassian needs or ITSM needs. And thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye now.